Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today because I think about this a lot as I transition through my life, is that I used to work a lot harder. Not that I don't work hard now, but in a different way than I do now. You get in this business to not have to work as hard as you do initially. Wholesaling is a great way to get started. Sometimes, if you position it right, it's a great way to transition you to wealth building and other things, which is exactly what Clay has done. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Clay, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. And I'm happy to be here.
Excited to have you here, and excited to talk about this topic because I think there's a lot of, you and I were talking about this a little bit up front. There's a lot of people that get started in real estate investing and a lot in wholesaling because it's one of the paths of least resistance, but they just end up in this transactional rut that they never get out of, which ultimately is just a job, right? And you guys have built something pretty amazing, doing 100 plus deals a year and able to start buying multifamily and doing other things to build wealth now, which is really what everybody, if you kind of talk to every real estate investor that was brand new and you say, well, point to what you want, they would say, that's what I want. I want what you guys are doing, honestly. Right. And so I'm excited to share your story and hopefully some lessons with folks that'll give them some new direction maybe today.
Yeah. Likewise. Hopefully, what I share can help someone else out. So that's the whole goal.
Yeah. Awesome. So talk about a little bit about yourself for anybody that may not know who you are yet. Share your backstory a little bit.
Great. Yeah. So I'm born and raised here in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's where I live currently. My real estate journey really started, over a decade ago, back in 2008. Really, I got my license in 2008. Literally the worst time you could possibly get into real estate. And I had a lot of friends and family make sure that was very clear. But I plugged away. I just started as an agent, kind of a similar path that a lot of people I talk to have started. That like I want to get into real estate. I'll get my license. I'll start there and kind of figure it out. Right. So that's what I did. Went a few years representing clients. Eventually was interested in flipping homes because that's I saw all these people making money flipping homes. I thought, oh, that'd be cool. So me and my brother, my dad partnered up. Started flipping homes about 8 years ago, and we were buying most of our deals from wholesalers. Right. So guys that would go out, market, find the deal, and then we'd pay them a ton of money up front, and they really didn't have any risk or, didn't have any overhead or anything like that. So after, being in the business of flipping for a few years, I started just kind of calculating what these wholesalers were making. And it was crazy. It was more than I was making flipping the homes, right? Like we were putting all the time, the money, the risk, effort in to flip these homes where these wholesalers were just killing it. So I started thinking, especially as the market was heating up and getting more competitive, I was like, I want to go source my own deals. I don't want to be dependent on someone else to find me deals. So that's when I started looking into wholesaling, kind of heard the term, and eventually signed up for a coaching program, kind of bit the bullet. And honestly, it just took off from there.
Yep.
So since then, I've partnered with someone. We've done the last 3 years, we've been doing wholesaling full time. And again, this year we're going to do over 100 wholesale deals, as well as adding, over 100 rental properties to our portfolio. So we can kind of dig into that more, but that's the essence of.
That's great. And I'm guessing along the line, you found a new appreciation of how much work wholesalers actually do, right?
Definitely.
I think that's a common thing. A lot of rehabbers will be like, I'm doing all the work and you're making all the money. It's like, well, there's a little more to it than that.
Yeah. I mean, in essence, you're a marketing and sales company, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what wholesalers are. They do a ton of marketing. They have a good sales portion. But yeah, I mean, we found too that there is a way to actually make that a sustainable automated business too. And we can go into that as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because I think where a lot of people get stuck is they compare what they're making to what their job was before. So if you left a job and you're making like 50,000 a year and you're like, well, now I make $50,000 in some months. It's like, yeah, in some months you make zero. And so it's just this, and then you have expenses, right? And next thing you know, it's like, well, maybe you're making 3x what you made in that job, but some people just get comfortable with that. They're like, well, this is way more than I used to make, but it's still a job, right? They can't take a vacation. Somebody gets sick, God forbid. There's issues there, and they're not relying upon a team. Now, to have that team, put those systems in place and all that, you have to grow because you need more revenue to pay those expenses. Right? So talk about your kind of journey, because you guys grew really fast, and a lot of that was through putting in place a team.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I think it goes back to, at least for me, and I think a lot of people that I talk to have the same sentiment, is that I mean, I was making great money being an agent. At my peak, I was probably making 200,000 plus a year just being a real estate agent, which is, I mean, relatively good money.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, I was miserable. I was working nights, weekends. As our family was growing, I was spending less and less time with my kids, my wife. To me, the dollar amount didn't matter, right? It was the peace of mind and the lifestyle that I was looking for. So I was chasing the lifestyle, right? I wanted to be free of that job. Like I was still a slave to my clients. And even in the flipping world, at least for me, we never really built a sustainable automated flipping business. It was still me going out hustling to find the deals, picking out tile, carpet, dealing with the insurance, the hard money. I mean, there's still a lot that goes into it. So even when I was making good money flipping, it was still a job, right? So when I got into wholesaling, it really changed my mindset, especially after I did my first deal, where we can talk about this, but I made $85,000 on one of my first wholesale deals. And that really changed my mind, because I saw the opportunity to really build a business that I could step away from. So when we got into wholesaling, me and my business partner, we intentionally from day one said, we don't want to just make this another job. We want to make this a business where we build a team, we build systems and processes so that we can literally step away. And it's taken, 3 years to get there. But today I am completely 100% hands off from our wholesaling business. I mean, I literally get emails from closings that are happening of properties I've never even seen. I don't even know the address, and we're just collecting checks, right? So that's the end. But it's taken a lot to get there. Like you said, there's a lot of in between steps. But I think you have to approach it with the mentality of, do I want another job or do I want to run a business?
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, and I don't mean this in a condescending way to anybody listening, it's at the end of the day, it's relatively simple math to figure out how to get there. Now, it's easier said than done to go from here to here. You got to bridge this you got to cross the chasm, right? As they say, but you have this gap to fill in, and I think if you're not intentional about it, it just won't happen. You might be like, oh, I need to hire somebody, I need to do something, but you just don't get to it. And if you kind of lay out the math and say, well, here's my average margin. Here's what I have to spend in advertising on average to get a deal. And if I layer in an admin, a salesperson, here's how much that expense is going to cost. And, you can just start to kind of start to plan out like, well, here's how I'm going to grow myself out of a position. Right. I mean, is that similar to what you guys did?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really is. Like you said, it's actually more simple once you break it down, especially number wise. So when you start looking at, obviously you got to do a few deals before you can start tracking this, but
right.
We start looking at, okay, how many people do I have to talk to get a deal, right? Like when you start tracking that and you say, holy cow, I have to talk to 30 people to get one deal or whatever the number is, right? Then it becomes easier to think, well, if I just talk to 30 people, then I'll get a deal, right? It's not this big, overwhelming, daunting thing. Like I have to know everything. I don't know, but no, it's literally like you break it down like that. It becomes so much more achievable, right? Than this big, vague thing. So yeah, I think honestly, it's easy to just get started in a very simple way. And like you said, you kind of add layers as you build and grow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I was talking to somebody yesterday that actually was similar, somebody that's in Investor Fuel as well, similar to, different from you, but has a pretty significant realtor business, and also has a whole bunch of rentals, and was kind of like, do I give this up? Because he really doesn't do a lot of wholesaling. And it's like, but he kind of said, well, should I, he's making pretty good money. So I was like, should I just take some money and invest in a team so that I can just transition a lot faster? He's in a position to do that. Not a lot of people are. For those that are, you got to have the resources to pay people, right? You have to have a business that's big enough to, or have some other business that's subsidizing this while you get it up and going. I mean, can you talk a little bit about how you guys, what are some of the first kind of positions you filled to start building your team out? I think that's a common question. It's a common question of, it's usually like, do I put an admin in place first, or do I put a acquisitions manager in place first? But maybe talk about your thoughts of how people should think about where to fill in the gaps first.
Yeah, great question. So for us, obviously from day one, we were doing everything, right? We were doing the marketing, we were doing the follow-ups, the disposition side, selling the deal, everything. And I think that's important because you need to learn and understand what those roles are. But again, from day one, let's say we were doing marketing, right? So from day one, we literally, if I was going to go today and pull a list, send direct mail, or do some cold calling, we'd literally start writing out what we were doing, right? So almost like creating an operations manual.
Yeah.
So anything you're doing in your business, start writing it out, right? So that's the first step in being able to replace yourself and train someone else. So our first hire, honestly, was just a VA, like a guy that helped us with simple marketing. Like he'd order the direct mail so it's just one little thing that can be taken off your plate at a time is huge, right? So we just hired a VA. Again, we had a step-by-step process. Here's how you order direct mail. Here's how you pull a list. Do this every week, So it started there. And then honestly, our second hire was an acquisition manager. And the beauty about that, so stepping back to VA, I mean, we're paying $4 or $5 an hour, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very doable for someone to front that money, even if it's a part-time VA, right? It's not a ton of overhead. And then when we hired our first acquisition manager, again, it was scary. Not because we were going to be paying them a lot, because they're 100% commission. So that's the other beauty, is that we hired someone 100% commission. So if they didn't perform, we didn't pay them. But at the same time, it's scary to bring someone on that's depending on you for their income, right? Yep. So that's, I think, of the mental leap that a lot of people are stuck with is
you're dependent hiring. Upon them. You're dependent upon them to perform, right? Because I can close 1 out of 30 or whatever. Like, what if they're 1 out of 50? Like, we're in trouble. Yeah. Not in trouble, but you're both. I think that is an important thing to consider for a lot of people is you need to create these relationships where you're both important to each other.
Exactly.
Right? Like you guys you're in this, you're going to sink or swim together one way or another, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's risk. And I would say, like, to your point, there's definitely a loss of efficiency, at least perceived. Because I think we're also prideful, thinking we're the best at what we do.
Right.
Right. But the second you can get over that, and I'll be the first one to admit, I'm not the best at negotiating or talking to sellers. That's why we hire people that are way better at that. So once you can realize that, hey, I can bring someone in that's much better at me than doing this thing, or that I don't like doing, that's when it will free you up and free your time and your mind. So yeah, honestly, that's like the first step. If someone that's just starting out can get to that point, can at least hire someone to take over some of the menial tasks, data entry, list pulling, marketing, stuff like that. And then hiring an acquisition person to kind of help you make the phone calls, do the follow-up. That alone will just free your time and your energy, and will really start to give you a taste in your mouth of like, holy cow, I can do this.
Right.
I can keep adding to this team, and it's a ball that just keeps rolling, And
I think one thing that helps too, when you're talking about acquisitions, folks that are commission-based typically, is that, a lot of people start off and like, well, I'm just going to hire an acquisitions manager in their mind, like, well, I don't have to pay them if they don't perform. But if you don't create an opportunity that's big enough for them to make a decent compensation, like let's just say that, you're doing a deal a month and they make like $2,000 of that. Like, are you going to find a killer salesperson that's going to like take your business to the next level and you're paying them $24,000 a year? Like, no, right? Yeah. So no, there's no chance of that. You're going to find a horrible if they accept that, you should not want to hire the person that will accept that, right? But a lot of times they don't really know. So the important thing is like, okay, well, I think if you kind of back into this is like, how much do they need to make? And, how much should they expect to make, whatever. And I want to find a way for them to make that or more, and then use their goals to back into your goal. I mean, you still have your goals, right? But maybe it just means you need to ultimately add a second acquisition person. But, if you are by design not advertising enough for them to be excited about their opportunity, then you're not going to hit your goals either.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's easier too, as like I said, as you go along or as you have a better track record.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the hard thing for us. I mean, from day one, we didn't hire an acquisition manager. It took us, 6 months or so, because we wanted to be able to prove that, hey, we can really do this. And when we brought someone in to interview, we could literally show them, because they were doubting it too. They're like, wholesaling, does this really work? Why would someone sell you their property for under market value? That makes no sense. I mean, that's literally like the first question people ask. It's
right.
Why would anyone do that? And so if they don't believe it, you have to show them that, no, this works. And let's show you. We've done, X amount of deals. Here's how much we've made on these deals. And here's how much you would make if you were working those deals. So it is hard. I think you have to get people over the hurdle of believing.
Yeah.
Even yourself. I mean, that was honestly from day one. Honestly, the hardest hurdle for me was believing in myself that I could actually do it. I remember walking away I went to a wholesaling seminar early on. Like, I signed up for this coaching program, went to the seminar, and I was still doubting, like, if this even worked. And I remember leaving there, and literally the whole ride home, I just repeated to myself, like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. So it's a lot of just changing your mindset and believing that you can. Because if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen.
No doubt.
But once you get that first check, you start believing, right?
Yeah,
like I said, when I got that $85,000 check, that changed my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the most I'd ever made in one deal by far.
Sure.
Right.
Man.
So I saw that, holy cow, on one transaction, I can make 85 grand. Like, if I can do it, anyone else can do it. And I'm not that smart of a person. Right. So yeah, it's getting your mindset in the right place and believing that it's possible.
Yep, no doubt. So you guys have kind of, as your business moves forward here, I know you're focused a lot more on doing some multifamily deals, doing some bigger deals, and being able to keep rentals, because I think that's another regret that a lot of people that purely focus on wholesaling get to, is they realize you're on this transactional kind of hamster wheel of maybe you made 85K on a deal, maybe it was 8K on a deal. Like, it's everything in between, right? But once that deal is sold, you never get another penny, and you got to go out and find the next one and find the next one and find the next one. And it's a great business for sure. But I think a lot of people look back and they say, I wish I had invested in things that would pay me over and over again, right? Or have the ability to build long-term wealth. So kind of talk about how you transitioned from that standpoint.
Yeah, well, I would say early on in my career is when I kind of had this epiphany of buying rentals, because I was surrounded by other, very influential and successful real estate agents. These guys are driving the nicest Beamers, the nicest cars you can imagine, but they're still living month to month because of their overhead, right? And I would ask everyone in my office, literally, I would ask guys, hey, how many rentals do you own? And these people that are doing hundreds of transactions a year would say, I don't own any rentals. I don't own any real estate. Yet that's what they do full time. So it was this kind of weird dichotomy in my mind that how are these people that are transacting, millions of dollars in real estate don't even own real estate? It's the weirdest thing to me. So that's kind of what made me think, like, I don't want to be like those guys. I don't want to be driving the fancy cars and living paycheck to paycheck. I want to build passive income that's going to, pay for my car in the future. Right. So early on, I think I bought my first rental in 2011, a little triplex me and my wife bought and lived in, and kind of house hacked. And then it lit the fire in me. I saw the potential for, long-term appreciation, cash flow, monthly cash flow, along with, as we built our wholesaling company, as we're making more and more money, once that tax bill comes, then it hits the fan, right? It's like, holy cow, I made all this money, but half of it's going back to the government. So through, buying rentals, through different tax strategies of accelerated depreciation, I'm literally able to offset all of that and not pay any taxes, right? So for me, real estate just provides so many opportunities for long-term growth or wealth, tax advantages, passive income, all that stuff. So that's kind of where I started, and it's just kind of built from there.
Yep. And it allows you to kind of cherry pick your deals too, right? I used that phrase earlier, I think, is, and I guess even if you're rehabbing too, you can kind of cherry pick your deals. Yeah. So I always kind of saw like, hey, I never identified with being a wholesaler, even though I've wholesaled hundreds of properties, but it was just like, I catch stuff in my net and then I take the best ones out and I keep them as a rental if they fit, or I rehab them, and everything else I wholesale. And so everybody has their own strategies. But if you just look at your business as to say, hey, I'm a wholesaler in the sense that I want to buy everything at a wholesale price, and then I'm going to decide what to do with those things. Is that how you guys look at your business?
Exactly. Yep. Same thing. Yeah. We just literally every deal we look at and we say, is this a deal we'd want to keep long-term or not? If it is, we keep it. If not, we sell it, you know? So yeah, it gives you the opportunity to find off-market opportunities that you are in control of, you know? That's the problem. If you're just an investor looking for a great, you know, deal on the market, like good luck. You know, you're going to be paying full market value. You're going to be competing against hundreds of other people on the MLS. So again, wholesaling to me is a vehicle. And we have a mantra here. It's just wholesaling to wealth building. That's really what it is. Our wholesaling company just fuels our wealth building. And so, like you said, yeah, we just cherry pick deals. We get, you know, through relationships, through other networking, we just get all these off-market deals. And we specifically focus on multifamily just because that's what we know and like. But, you know, I know people that just buy single families and crush it on that, right? So whatever, or office buildings, you know, so I mean, there's so many different ways you can go with it. But to me, the most important thing is just buy real estate.
Yeah.
Buy real estate.
And we've started to move into multifamily over the past couple of years and some syndications and some development deals and some other bigger deals. But for you, why I know why we do multifamily, but why have you transitioned into more multifamily for the wealth building side?
Honestly, it's because it's what I know best, really, right? Like I don't understand warehouse or industrial. It's sure. I mean, I can learn it
compared to single family, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think for me, it was always just a safer bet. And at least in my market, the appreciation happens much more in multifamily than it does in single families. You know, and I was always just scared of, hey, if I have a tenant that moves out, I'm getting zero income on a single family. Whereas if I have a fourplex and one tenant moves out, I still get 3 people paying rent, right? Sure. So it's just the risk. It felt a little more comfortable for us. And honestly, once you get into the bigger multifamily, financing becomes much easier.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to try and finance single families over and over, there's a lot of restrictions there with conventional lending and things like that. So we've just found it's just much easier to scale a multifamily business than it is a single family.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. And I think there's a lot of efficiencies from a management standpoint. And
exactly.
All that as well. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, and you're not at the mercy of kind of the value of the property as a retail sale, right? Like you can move some needles, get the rents up, and really create tremendous value just through leverage, right?
Totally. Yeah, that's a great point. That's honestly that's what we focus on. So we don't do developments or anything. We typically buy value add properties, or properties that need a ton of work. We go in, fix them up, raise the rents, and literally you're in control of the value of that asset. I mean, I know that if I can rent each unit for X amount, that the value is going to be X. It's not dependent on comparable sales. It's just dependent on the income that we're producing. So it's much easier to, I guess, predict and know what the value is going to be based off what you can do to it and what you can rent it for. Where single family is different. Yet it's based off comps, and appraiser can go both ways, right? So
yeah.
Clay,
any words of wisdom? I know there's people that watch this show that are professional real estate investors already, and there's probably some new folks that watch it. Any kind of words of wisdom for people that are, let's just say they're actively doing deals already, but they're still kind of stuck in that grind and they haven't scaled it up the way that you guys have? Any kind of words of wisdom to share?
Yeah, I think honestly, getting a mentor and a coach is huge. I mean, that's really where I started. That's what propelled me into this. Is I literally remember laying down in bed and I was like sweating. Like I was like about to click pay. Like it was like $5,000 for this mentor program. And I'd never done anything like that. I was always just figured out on my own, going YouTube, whatever, figured out. But I was literally sweating and almost in tears. Like, can I do this? Like, can I pay this money for a mentor and a coach? And I'm so grateful I did. So I would say for someone that's struggling, that may not have all the answers, go find a program. I mean, there's thousands out there. I mean, there's good mentors that can help you coach you through this, but I would start there. And then again, going back to the mindset, you just have to believe that you can do it. I think we limit ourselves with our self-limiting beliefs that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. Why should I be blessed when others aren't? Once I changed my mindset to have an abundance mindset that, hey, we're all deserving of an abundant life, and believing that it's possible. So I would say once you can change your mindset and really dedicate yourself to doing something by hiring a coach or a mentor, that's when things are going to change.
Yep. And then I think for those that are, once you get your business to a certain level, it shifts a little bit more to just surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yep.
Right? You guys are a member of Investor Fuel, have been big givers and kind of sharing what you do with all other members. And would you mind just kind of quickly sharing a a quick testimonial on, you guys have been Investor Fuel for a little while now. Just a quick little testimonial of the group.
Oh yeah. I think joining Investor Fuel is one of the best things we ever did. And honestly, it's amazing. But when you surround yourself with other like-minded people that are doing things that you are doing or that you want to do, it's amazing what it does for you. It pushes you to new levels. And again, it breaks the barrier of that next level mindset, right? It's like, I'm thinking, oh, I want to do 10 deals a year. Like that would blow my mind. Well, once you're surrounding people that are doing 100 deals a year, it automatically raises that bar to be like, well, I want to do 100 deals a year, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it. So that's what Investor Fuel has done for us. Honestly, sitting next to and working with people that are doing those things is really helped us. And honestly, it's just such a go-giver mentality there. Like everyone's opening up their businesses. They're wanting to help and share. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about Investor Fuel. Like what you've created is amazing. And I truly value our time where we get to network, give back and help others and learn from others in the group. So honestly, this is the only mastermind we're a part of. Like it's been that life-changing for us. It's amazing. So yeah.
Appreciate that. And it truthfully comes down to, there's this culture that we've created, but it's taken on a life of its own. I think for guys like you to come in and you have so much to give, sharing that with other people, and you're part of our online community. So it's not uncommon for people to say, hey, has anybody ever dealt with this before? Or what do you do with this? And people are like, yeah, call me. Let's set up a time to talk. I'll kind of walk you through it. It's not just like, here's a link to something. It's like, here's who I use, or here's how I got over it, or let's talk about it, or whatever. Right. Because I think, people that are in the group tend to get a lot, and they feel this, this law of reciprocity to like give a lot. And the more you give, I think the more you get generally. Exactly. So appreciate that you guys are a part of that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Clay, if folks wanted to reach out to you guys are doing some amazing things, connect with you in any way on social media, like where's some areas they can go to connect with you?
Yeah. I mean, I post a ton on Facebook and Instagram at Clay Rockwood. You can find me. I was posting different deals we're doing, how we're structuring things. So that's a great resource. And obviously our website, utahhousebuyers.com. You can always find us there as well.
Awesome. We'll add the links down below in the show notes for everybody to reach you. And so appreciate you sharing your story with us today. It's pretty impressive. Honestly, you guys have done a lot in a shorter period of time. So it's really going to be a treat to kind of watch where you go from here.
Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And I look up to you as a mentor and friend. So thank you for letting me be here.
I appreciate those kind words. Yeah. So everybody, hope you got some good value from the show here. You should know, if you kind of follow it in the footprints of what Clay and his partner, Brian, have done here, some amazing things. And you're really limited by your own beliefs. Like he said, if you think small, you're going to stay small. But if you kind of surround yourself with the right people and follow a proven path and really kind of believe in yourself, you can build something pretty amazing here. So appreciate you guys joining us today. We'll see you on the next show. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.